Hey guys, welcome to the meeting. Apparently people didn't get the memo that we changed location, so maybe a few people will show up late that drove to Exton first. Does everybody know Susie?
Hello.
So Susie and I are now doing this together, so I actually have help. This is awesome. So the first thing we want to do is welcome new members. And I thought I maybe saw somebody that was new. Is anybody new? No.
I'm visiting.
You're visiting from?
Delaware County.
Well, I'm from Delaware County.
Morton.
From Morton. Yeah, but there's no bee club down there, so what are you visiting from?
Hey, I'm from Folsom. I'm right near Morton, so you gotta be.
No, that's my point. I'm in media. I'm in Delaware County as well. Visiting from what? We're not visiting from another club. This is our club.
My brother.
Oh, is that your brother?
Yeah.
Oh, you're visiting.
+1.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Do you beekeep as well?
I have some bees, yeah.
You got some bees? Awesome.
Hives.
Hives. Yeah. Do you have bees in your hives? Because I just have beetles in my hives. I beetle keep. The rest of you bee keep.
I still have some.
Yeah.
So we do have kind of a new member, but he was an old member. But Ed?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years for me, so I'm back.
What's your name?
Ed Peters,
Ed Peters. Welcome, Ed Peters. Welcome back.
And there's a thread here. Where do you live?
Town Square, about 5 miles from here.
Delaware County?
Delaware County.
Yeah, okay. So
I think you're outnumbering us.
Delaware County.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Delaware County folks floating around here.
Delaware County.
Yeah, George, Delaware County.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Delawares. And we might be 50-50 today.
Well, before 1946, we were combined.
Yeah.
Delaware.
That's always been my question is why doesn't Delaware County have a club?
It did.
It did?
Well, I'm not sure what happened after
They
46.
couldn't find a
They
president.
split.
Vice
They
president.
couldn't
No
keep
one
bees
wanted
because
to
they
do
have
it.
too many beetles. That's what happened. They all gave up. All right, so we've got all new members welcomed in. So we got Mark. I think what our new agenda should be is to now see who actually talks longer, George or Mark, so we can kind of compare our two presidents, past president and new president. So George or Mark is going to take us away.
All right. So 4.5 minute-ish.
Set your timers.
Set your timers.
Where's my timer?
Okay, let's go. All right. CCBA officers, hi, I'm Mark. I'm your president. You just met Donna, our first vice president, and Susie, our second vice president, and Chris over here, our VP of technology. Carissa, I think, is online or will be online. Russ Lux is fishing in Florida right now. He'll be back tomorrow. Michelle Murphy sitting over here. If you look under her feet, you'll notice there's a big bag of cash. So she's our treasurer. That's a good thing. Howard, our assistant treasurer, is sitting right over here. And our past pres is George. Whew! Next slide. Always need help with the committees. You can see what the committees are. I'll just point out a couple of really important ones. If you're so inclined to help out with the beginners courses, we could use help on the labs, which happen 4 times a month, starting in April. Damon Ireland needs help for community outreach always. That's going out and talking to clubs or going to an event, standing around and talking to the public. Entertainment, we really would like an entertainment committee chair. That person is really going to be running the team that helps put the picnic together and the holiday party together. Those are the 2 big events for entertainment in the year, as well as if we do the gala again this year, helping out, setting that up and making it happen. And then Paul Lisco sitting right over here. If you want to be on the grant committee, that is looking at the grant requests that come in. And yes?
I just drafted Ed as a new member of the grant committee.
Okay, so I'll take that off. That gives us 3 grant committee members. That's the bare minimum. If you want to help out with grants, though, please join. You read the grants, you chat with the committee, say, yeah, this looks like a good one, or this looks like another lavender request for 80 lavender plants, which will generally be not so much. And then Sean and Vince and Bill are going to be working together as quartermaster or storefront managers. So we kind of two separate roles here. The quartermaster will be responsible for the club equipment, and the storefront managers will be responsible for, Bill is sitting right over here for those, I was looking to point at him, but he's over there. Will be responsible for making sure that we have the materials on the storefront when they get ordered, where are they, and how to get them to the individual that paid for them online. So, next. Carissa and her conference team, a lot of you in the room are part of that conference team. Thank you very much. It's been it's a real challenge to get this done, but we're moving along nicely. I think we've got a slide here in a minute. We'll talk briefly about Donna and Susie for helping set this meeting up, and Bill for arranging this facility. Thank you so much. This is a great facility. If we get these columns moved next time. Something about load-bearing walls, not good. And just everybody who's helped out last year and is going to help out this year. Really appreciate it. We need if you want to have a raffle, we need a raffle master. So no raffle master, no raffle. Just that simple.
Don't all raise your hand at once.
Yeah, not everybody at once. We got stuff to raffle, and we'll give you money to buy raffle stuff. But I'm simply not going to tell somebody, oh, you've already got a full-time job, and let's put more stuff on you. We need to spread the wealth. Topics, let Susie and Donna know if you've got a topic that you want, or you got a guest speaker that'll come in person or via Zoom. Just let them know, and we'll see what we can do to set it up. We might do it as part of the online Women's Bee Group Monday night, or we might do it at the meeting. So at the monthly meeting. Refreshments, if you please do sign up and take a slot. You can scan that QR code. Michelle brought the coffee today, so thank you very much, Michelle. Greatly appreciated for those that drink coffee. Those that don't, you don't know what life's all about, right? And make sure you check the club calendar for the meeting location. We may be here again next month. We haven't reserved, but if the Scout Center comes open, we'll go back to the Scout Center. That's we want that to be our primary location. Although Bill does have, is it 3 hives?
Yes.
Yeah, two. Okay, so there's 2 hives right out here on the church property. So we, if we're nice to Bill, he might take us out there after the meeting. Not today. Even though 45, yeah, maybe. Okay. The conference, it's really important to know when you talk to people that it is in person, but it's also virtual, and it's also recorded. And the price to sign up for any of those is the same. It's $55 until the 1st of March, and then it goes to $65 until the day before the conference and day of the conference, where it goes up to $75. But for people that can't go, they can join us via Zoom on all the tracks. So far as of last night, 78 people have signed up. We've got a bunch of vendors have signed up. We've got Fillmore came in and did gave us a bunch of coupons. Four Brothers did. We've got a sponsor that's given us $1,000 for a sponsorship. Somebody else came in with a $500 sponsorship. So we're getting some movement there. Tell your friends and neighbors all about. We've got this wonderful conference at Penn State Great Valley. That is where we're going to be for the main venue. That's about 400 people that can go into that beautiful room, beautiful campus, plenty of parking, and so there you go. Oh, and this year we will have not just you get a ticket at the door, which we've always done in the past. You get a ticket. You put that ticket in the cup of the prize, the door prize that you want, and then we randomly select a ticket out of there. That's great. Now you can buy more tickets. We'll sell those tickets for $1 a piece, and we are doing it legally because we got the certificate from the county saying you can have a raffle. It costs us $25 to do that. So, but you have to be there for the raffle to get a ticket.
And the lunch.
Say it again?
And the lunch.
Oh, you have to be there for the lunch. That's true.
We're not shipping it.
Yeah.
Not shipping that away. We do it
Yeah,
everywhere.
we'll take a picture of it and send the picture if you're virtual and you ordered a lunch. So yeah, there you go. Great. So it's part of my talk. Hey, are my hives alive? Well,
Yes.
I went out, this was on the 2nd of February. It was freaking cold. And I went out with my IR camera plugged into my phone and took a picture of each of my hives. And you can see where the heat is. So it's interesting that you've got different hives have different configurations where this was a 10 frame deep, and you can see the cluster of bees at the top. Over here is one of George's one queen keepers. They had basically moved out of the brood box and are up in the 5 frame nuke high above. And this is the 2 queen keeper. You can see on one side they're here and up there, and on this side they were all really crisp.
Do you have upper entrances on that?
They
You have
are.
ventilation spots
They are.
up top?
They are. I think they're all closed because it was sort of freaking cold. I just put a piece of tape over the top entrance. Yeah.
I hope you remember to remove the queen excluders.
Queen excluders are off. Yeah. All the queen excluders are off. Yeah. Only have to do that once to realize, oh, that's not good. Okay.
It's good to see color, not just purple.
Yeah, exactly. If that were all the same color, it's a dead hive. You see differences. So I'm going to introduce Sean, and Sean's going to talk about something new for
I
us.
was told to stand over here.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Sean. I've been beekeeping for almost a year now. Last year I helped Howard out with the swarm list. We're moving away from the swarm list. We're going to be moving to Bee Swarmed. So on our website, what we're going to end up doing is having a link for people to be able to report swarms in their area. As beekeepers, we will create accounts if we want to be a swarm catcher. You will set up your information on their site, indicating your radius of where you would like to participate. You'll say whether or not you want to do cutouts or not. It's basically the same information that you gave to Howard. We'll be putting into their system. Their system is secure. That information is not published anywhere. When a person reports a swarm, either through our site or the Bee Swarmed site, and their site, they do a lot of work to try and make sure that their names get popped into search when people search for a swarm or beekeeping or whatever. Bee Swarm shows up. They work with a lot of agencies like fire departments, libraries, and such to kind of get the notice out there. So when a person reports a swarm in their area, the beekeepers within that area will get notified, either by text, email, and or WhatsApp, I think. Broadcast goes out. Whoever reports or responds to it first gets to claim the swarm if they want it. And so only one person will respond to that swarm notification and be able to go and capture that swarm. So now we won't be, showing up and there's 3 other beekeepers in the area that, are all there, all want to try and capture the swarm. One person will kind of own the rights to it. They can release it, give it to someone else. So it'll make it a lot cleaner for the people who are reporting the swarms because they just put the information in on where it is. They don't have to worry about what happens next. When somebody claims it, they'll go and contact the person and they'll arrange for, the swarm to be caught. So it's going to make it a lot easier for both the beekeeper and for the people reporting the swarms. So that's kind of the general idea. So they have some FAQs. We're going to have more information out on our website once we kind of get it set up. It'll make it a lot easier for us to administer because now it's up to each individual to indicate whether or not they want to participate. There's no timing required. You just go out there, create your account. If you want to do it for a month and then pull it off, you just go out and change your settings. Right? So last year we had some people that didn't meet our timeline for publishing our list. We don't have to worry about that anymore. They could just go out, create their account, sign up. They're on the list. And it's ongoing. So we're trying it out this year, but we kind of expect this will work. So going forward, you don't have to sign up every year. If you want to do it, your name's already out there. If you want to not do it, you can take your name off the list.
Sean,
yourself.
wasn't there a problem last year where everyone's name, anybody on the swarm list, their name and email address was publicly accessible?
Well, that's what it is today.
Yeah.
Everyone's name and contact information is out on our website. Anybody who's on the swarm list, right?
Right.
That won't happen anymore. Yes, sir.
So will the public be told, like, to go to the Chester County Beekeeping Association if they have a swarm, or will they be told to go to Bee Swarm if they have a swarm? Like, what will be our message, or
Either way.
either way will work?
Either way will work. And that's the beauty of this. So if people know our site and go to our site, there's a link right there and they can report it.
Because I think there was some usefulness for the public knowing that the Chester County Beekeeping Association existed, and don't want to lose that. Because
Absolutely.
that was the contact for a lot of people to our organization.
And we're not giving that up, obviously.
Right. There's still a button on our website that'll say swarm
Okay.
or swarm
We
mail
have
or
pictures of
whatever.
what swarms look like.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we shouldn't turn it all over to
No.
these.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
It
It's
shows
additive.
up like it's our website,
Okay.
but it's connecting back, the back end goes to Bee Swarmed, and I've
Gotcha.
been using Bee Swarm for a couple of years now, and I get these text messages saying, hey, a swarm is, 15 minutes away from me, do you want it? And it's like, well, it's not 15 minutes, it's like an hour and a half, and no, it's a cutout.
Is there a fee or subscription?
Our public knows that we exist as through swarms.
And that really won't change,
Right.
right? So if they go to our website, it really doesn't look much different to them other than they're putting in the information and then they don't have to go out and contact anyone. That's the beauty of it. They don't have to try and coordinate with multiple people. So last year I got called along with 5 other people. 3 of us showed up at the site. Well, we don't want that to happen, right? So that's basically it.
Is there a fee or subscription to?
The club is picking up the subscription cost, which is a voluntary contribution. So based on the size of our club being under 100 people that typically respond to swarms, we're making a donation that's commensurate with other clubs. There's over 70 different clubs in the U.S. doing this now, so it's pretty well established.
I was talking to the folks at Bucks County, and they use this, and I've been looking at it for, like I said, a couple of years now. Beeswarmed.org. It is a nonprofit, so that makes me feel a little bit better. It's not like, these guys are not making their careers on a subscription service.
So how does the general public, other than go to our website,
They
they
go-
just have to start to get used to it, right? And
Yeah,
Right,
they
so-
type
Swarm.
Bee Swarm, and the first couple of hits are going to be beeswarm.org
Gotcha.
on Google. So they're already out there using SEO.
So it could bring in more people.
It
who
could
are
bring in a
looking
lot
for
more.
it, Yeah. Okay.
So the beauty of this is we'll get all the data, of how many swarms were notified in our area or occurred in our area, where they were, when they were. So the data behind it will be really nice for us just to be able to see how effective it is. And we'll determine next year if we want to continue to do it or not.
Does it prevent multiple beekeepers from showing up at the site?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
because
Only
the first
one-
person that grabs it, it's theirs until they say, oh, never mind.
Okay. Then it's open again.
Then it's open back up.
Okay.
The location of where the actual location is not given to you until you
Until you approve,
Claim it.
to accept.
select.
You'll know the general area because it's going to be within your perimeter,
Okay.
right?
That's
It
why you
might say
give
it's
it
in
back.
Downingtown, right? Where in Downingtown? Well, you'll find out when you contact.
And it will tell you if it requires a cutout.
Yes.
Yes.
So the beauty of this is it uses artificial intelligence. So if people load a photo of the swarm, it can tell whether or not those are honeybees or wasps or yellow jackets. So there's some benefit of using this because it will automatically help you determine whether or not it's a cutout or not.
That's crazy.
Even if they don't specify that it is, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
It's much better than what we're doing today, which is,
And our data is more secure.
yeah, the
Because
security
it's on
is,
the swarm list.
yeah. Because I don't know about you, but anybody get a lot of emails or phone calls from people selling things? How did they get our contact information? Well, they get it a lot of different ways, but let's try to knock some of that down. All of that is good. I sit down.
Wait.
The best thing anyone can do in their room is help Mark out, as as my You know, any help that anyone gives to the president is the best gift to the president ever. So if you're thinking like maybe I want to do something, please step up and do it, right? It's totally volunteer. 6 months from now, you can say that was a stupid idea and walk away. But volunteer today is huge help. So especially the entertainment. We need somebody for entertainment. So anybody wants to do entertainment? Plan the picnic, organize it. Just kind of planning of, you know, where we're going to do these events, who's going to buy the food, what food's going to come, how do we get registration out, you know. The picnic and the holiday party and the gala are much fun, you know, right? But anyway, I didn't convince anyone to raise their hand, Mark. I tried. I want my time back, sort of like that.
It's only 40 seconds. You're good. Keep going.
So what am I doing right now? It's February. I don't want to take Paul's time, and I'm not going to do cowboy beekeeping for sure. But I'm thinking, like, how many hives do I want? Right, this year, how many are surviving, how many do I want, where am I going to get them from, right? Am I going to source packages, am I going to source nukes, am I going to source splits, am I going to make swarms, you know? You got to know your bee calendar. You got to know your bee calendar. If you don't know, if you're a new beekeeper and you don't know what I'm talking about, I failed you last year, right? And I probably did in some ways, but you got to know what blooms when and what bees are doing at certain times of the year. And that maybe take a little bit of time, but we're all generally sitting within the same bee calendar in Chester County, right? Like our bee calendar is a little different than people in Virginia or people in New York, and definitely different than people in San Diego. But most of us are living by the same bee calendar. Maybe the southern part of the area versus the northern part of the area is a few days difference, but for the most part, you got to know it. So this is the time to know what's blooming, get it out, and what you're going to do when. You're going to hopefully hear a little bit from me about this IPM plan during the year, if Mark lets me. This whole idea of just putting a slightly different lens on your beekeeping and making sure the health and the wellness of your colonies is equal to the number and the production of your colonies, right? Because we tend to talk, I have 50 colonies, I have 80 colonies, I make 2,000 pounds of honey, I make 5,000 pounds of honey. Ultimately, the only thing that drives those two things is the health of your colonies, right? And there's different ways to approach that, but it should be considered, like, what in the world am I going to do to keep my colonies alive this year? Important. Next, or backwards. I'm very, I talk about, I'm not going to go into cowboy beekeeping or what to do, but I try to organize this. What's inside your hive? Bees, brood, food, disease. That's it. There's 4 things inside your hive, and there's 4 things that you need to manage in some way. And there's 1,000 different ways to manage those things, but ultimately there's 4 things to manage. How many bees are in your hive, how much brood's in your hive, how much food is in your hive, and what disease/pest are in your hive. And that goes for each month. Now, this is just me, and Paul's going to tell you what he's doing, but in February, it's pretty simple. The bees, generally most people's are between 3 to 7 seams of bees, and they're generally decreasing right now because, you know, the winter bees are starting to die off, so your population is on the downward decline right now. Hopefully not too small and can't recover, but they are declining. Brood is starting. I don't know when. Historically, in this neck of the woods, the brood start date is always like the last week of January for the most part. Howard's told me not to open hives when it's 10 degrees outside, and I finally learned that after 8 years. So Howard, you'd be happy to know, I have no idea if there's brood in any of my hives right now, but I assume there is, and definitely with this week coming up, there surely will be, you know, with the warmer temperatures, so you will have brood inside your hives. I guess, Paul, are you going to go over reversing boxes at all? No. So you have a couple options. You know, how many people overwintered in singles? Raise your hand. If you overwintered in single box, raise your hand. If you overwintered in more than one box, raise your hand. You guys are so old school in this room, right? So we're all
Proud of it.
Proud of it. I'm sticking with my doubles or my triples, and I'm not changing. God bless you all. It works, right? So I'm not saying it doesn't work. But if you're a YouTube...
Can you put the bottle down, the crinkling of the bottle?
We'll get you a fidget toy.
If you're a YouTube, if you watch YouTube, anyone watch YouTube in this room? Yeah. Go to anyone who know Etienne Tardif is? Etienne Tardif, beekeeper in the Yukon. You know, if you want to learn anything about overwintering, he spent his life, I don't know, he must be an engineer because he's a math and science guy, but he's looked at bee survival in the Yukon, right? and really sort of explains to you how the bees survive in the winter and what's important. And you know what he overwinters in the Yukon? Singles. So if he can do it at minus 60 degrees in singles, it's possible. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it.
That's an exaggeration. I talked to him Wednesday, it was only minus 57. Seriously.
But, if you're, so, what to do, at some point this month, you want to, the bee queen's going to start laying, they're going to increase space, so you want to give the bees more space. If you're in doubles, bees work up always, right? So generally, if you're in doubles, your bottom deep is going to be empty, right? Coming out of winter, right? For those of you who do doubles, for the most part, your bottom's empty. Agreed? Mm-hmm. Agreed. So some people at some point will take the bottom empty and move it on top of they'll reverse boxes, right? You'll take the bottom empty and put it on top.
When it gets warm enough. Reverse it.
When it gets warm enough. Reverse it. Reverse boxes. Now, that used to be very popular, when I started beekeeping, and now some people are saying, don't reverse, let them work their way down. I'm not sure about that, but I generally think if you're going to work a double and you're going to have 2 boxes on, do something, like reverse them. But you have to be careful, right? You know what you have to be careful about, right? So if your cluster is like between the 2 boxes, right? So if your cluster is between the 2 boxes and you have some brood in the bottom box, right? And you take that bottom box and move it up top, now you split your brood nest, right? Yes? No?
Yes.
Not a good idea. I can't tell ever. Chris Sims shakes his head at me, and I'm not sure if he's disagreeing with what I say or he's saying, yeah, I agree, that's not a good idea. Split your brood is not a good idea right now, right? So
Not when it's cold.
not when it's cold. Not when it's cold. You don't want to split your brood. So if you're going to do that box reversal, make sure all the brood is in the bottom and not split between the 2 boxes. Thumbs up if you got what I say. Thumbs up. For those of you who don't. Now, if you're running a single, you don't have to think about that. Easy. All you have to do is decide whether or not you're going to put the box on the top, the box on the top. And you know what? In Poland, I've learned a little bit about Poland. We won't go into why. But in Poland, they put the box on the bottom coming out of winter. It's interesting. They just put foundation, and they put the box on the bottom, and the bees work down that way. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you're running a single, you need more space, right? But do not split the brood nest now. Do not split the brood nest in March. Generally, we're not starting to sort of do brood nest splitting until April, for the most part.
When dandelions bloom.
When dandelions bloom, you can do whatever you want. Food. I'm worried. I'm very worried. We all should be worried. It's been very cold.
But that's good, right? Because then you're not moving and eating as
They're
much.
not moving and eating, the beetles are dying. No, the beetles live in the cluster, right? The beetles don't
Beetles
die. Beetles are fine.
My beetles are fine.
The beetles don't die in the winter. The beetles stay in the middle of the cluster. Anyway, don't let your hive starve right now. You can add fondant. Warren Graham, when I first started, 15 years ago when I first joined the club, I remember Warren Graham, some of us know Warren Graham, he used to always talk about, he'd take these little containers and he would give 1-to-1 in February, and he was very convinced like that helped get things going.
Yogurt cups.
Yogurt cups. He had yogurt cups that he punched holes in, and he would put they were like 6 ounces or 8 ounces of 1-to-1 right on top of the brood nest in February, just to get them going. But once you get them going, you have to support them going, right? You can't do it once and forget about it. Once you get them going,
What happens if it gets cold again? Isn't it bad for them to have too much
they only
water?
give enough for a day's worth. So it wasn't like trying
It was
to.
enough to turn them on.
It was enough to turn them on. That was the idea. Hey, look, there's 1-to-1 out there. It's time to start.
Then explain what you
brooding
mean
up.
by you gotta keep going and keep doing it.
But that is an issue, because if you only have so much reserved in your hive, and you go and you ramp up the brood, it's gonna deplete, you'll wind up a starved hive come March.
Yeah. So if you got to back it up with fondant, or you got to back it up with.
Back everything up.
Oh,
You
so
gotta
it's a
back it
boost,
up.
But then give it dry
Right.
food.
Yeah, yeah. Give it a boost, but then follow it up so they don't starve, right? Because food consumption now is 3 times greater than food consumption in January. I'm positive. Etienne agrees with me. I was like, thank goodness someone agrees with me who actually has data. So food consumption and when they don't have brood is about 4 or 5 pounds a month. Once they start making brood, it goes up to 15 pounds a month because they got to keep the temperature up and they got to feed the brood. I don't know which one costs more energy, but the sugar consumption increases 3-fold once the brood increases.
We had the falls where we had dirt.
Right.
And they were still breeding, they were still.
It's a mess.
And they used up all their, just making brood, they used up all the resources for winter, and we had to feed like crazy. So that's happened a couple of years. for me anyway.
Yeah, no, it's been different the last couple of years about this part right there. So you have to always be aware of how much food you have in your hive, and even if you're not harvesting, the bees aren't living in trees. Once we take them out of the tree and put them in a hive, it's not the same. It's not the same. The way they, I'm way over my time.
10 minutes, you're at 10 minutes.
The nest in the tree is only a deep box, right? And anyway, we won't get
You
into
got more than
that.
that going on.
Michelle
You got
had a
the
question
insulating
over here.
factor, too.
And then,
George.
really quick, I'll finish and then I'll shut up, and then the time's on everybody else. The disease, there's always disease. We don't think about that as a new beekeeper. Chris, a lot of us have experience with really wacky things happening in our hives over the years, and I think you just want to be mindful that disease is always there. We sometimes talk about dead outs. Everyone besides a few ex-presidents have dead outs. So disease or starvation, what's the cause of that? You have to, including myself, I never have a dead out. Including disease or starvation, what's the cause of your dead out? Now's the time to figure it out and to learn from that. And then, don't leave your dead outs there. Take them out, remove them. They're only going to be a nidus for more problems down the line. So that's February. Think about what you're going to do for the year. There's some very basic things to do, and that's it. That's all I got.
Hey, Michelle had a question.
Judge, can you go back to the feeding? And so if you're adding fondant, at what point would you start adding a little pollen padding because they're starting to rear up? Like, would you do it this month? Would you wait till it gets a little warmer? Is it based on temperature?
So the question is pollen supplementation for your hives coming out of winter. When and how much to do it is, I think, the question. And where to put it. Do you put it in the hive? Some people will put it in like a PVC tube, which is kind of cool, where they put the dry pollen sub in there, so the bees, if they need it, they'll come take it, and therefore you're not running the risk of beetles and other issues in the hive. So I kind of like that idea, honestly, is to get a PVC tube, cut off one end, and get some dry pollen sub, and just throw it in the tube and put it in a sunny location. And then if the bees decide that they need the pollen, they'll come get the pollen.
Another thing on that is get yourself a little grid of quarter-inch or half-inch
Chicken wire.
Chicken wire.
Great.
to stuff in the front so that you don't end up with a bird nest at the end of the tube. Or squirrels.
Yeah, the birds will eventually move into that tube, and then it's a multi-purpose thing. It becomes you're doing good for the
Almost like
nature.
I'm talking from experience there. Oh yes.
You've probably seen my PV. It's like, what's that brown stuff in there? And then you can put a little honey on the top of that tube, and then the bees can find it, and then if they need the pollen, they can take the pollen. So I kind of like that idea, and there's all different ways to do it. Some people put a pie plate out, some people have a PVC tube, but just get some dry pollen and put it out, and if the bees need it, they'll come take it. If they don't need it, they won't take it. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Can we all land on that idea, maybe? Maybe. Without going into your hive and looking at the frames and knowing whether or not they need pollen, it's kind of hard to know. If you put pollen in too soon and you have beetle problems, you're only going to make your beetle problems worse, even this time of year. You waste money, so I think dry pollen in a tube is a nice compromise to that. And report back on how it works,
George, you have a question?
I have a
here?
question.
So
Who was the YouTube person you were talking about?
Etienne Tardif, Tardiff, Etienne Tardif. Yukon, beekeeping in the Yukon. I forget what his YouTube channel is, but it's basically all about, they basically have winter for 10 months up there, right? So that's his beekeeping, basically. How do I keep bees alive in places that they shouldn't exist, basically?
How do you get honey? Because how do you get honey if the season is so short? And you have to leave
why
that much
do
on the
this?
hive?
Because there's so much forage up there in the muskeg and in the swampy lands. There's so much forage that they're bringing,
I think it's
15
fireweed,
pounds
I think he said.
a day.
I think, when the fireweed blooms in the 1 month that something blooms, there's like a tremendous amount of it. So but it seems like we struggle here. Can you imagine beekeeping it?
I can't.
Where your winter's 10 months out of the year?
I can't imagine that temperature.
But the bees work all day.
The bees work all day, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And, there's light out all day, right? So the 1 month
Oh,
where there's
yeah.
something in bloom,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
but your
Sun doesn't
super's
set.
on.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Mark. Anyway, thank you all for
Thank you,
coming.
George. Oh, you were going to talk about Queens? What's the Queen
15
doing?
minutes, I can reset the clock. That was amazing, George.
That was how long?
15 minutes.
That's what I normally take.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not. I will reset the clock.
So Queen, so what's my Queen doing? So we have a Queen program led by Charlie, and Ed's part of the Queen. Ed Sharp's part of it. I've sort of dabbled in it a little bit.
Hiroshi.
Hiroshi does it. There's a bunch of people that do the Queen program, and my apologies to
Jim
Lee.
Goodyear's
Jim
on the
Goodyear
Queen
does
team.
it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're always looking for new people. It's really a cool group where they make Queens all year round. So we kind of, and Queens are important. Most colonies right now have a Queen. Every once in a while, a colony will come out of winter without a Queen, right? For a variety of different reasons. One is that, it tried to supersede in the fall, and that Queen didn't make it, or that Queen is in there, but she didn't get mated, so you have a Queen in there, but they're non-functional. So every once in a while, you'll go, your first inspection, you'll go into your hive, and you may only see drone brood, right? And that's not a good thing. That means you have a drone-laying queen in there, or you won't see any brood in there, and therefore the queen died over the winter. I mean, queens die. Ideally, the queen, what the queen is doing. So, and there's not really much you can do for that, and that's not really the beekeeping. That's nature in general, right? Queens die and whatever. So you should see worker brood. If you have a day that's 55 degrees and you decide, against Howard's advice, to go in there and take a look in February, you should see some brood in your hive in February, I think. If a hive without brood in February would be a red flag to me, like something's wrong with it, Even small colonies will start to make small brood, right? Big colonies make bigger amount of brood. Small colonies start with smaller amount of brood, but there should be brood in your hive in February, at least the middle of February, right? So the queen starts to lay is what she's doing right now. And it's small, it'll be right in the middle of the cluster. If you see no brood, that's a red flag. If you see drone brood, right? Drone brood right now would be a red flag for sure. You don't want a whole lot of drone brood right now. And then there's not much you can, don't mess up the queen right now, right? That's another thing. Cold weather is not good for brood. You could chill brood, and then chill brood ends up in chalk brood. So if you're going to pull a frame, do it quickly. Don't leave it out for a long time, and make sure you don't roll your queen now, because they have no chance of replacing the queen. So if as a beekeeper you kill your queen, you're in trouble right now. You don't have any great options. So
Hey, George,
yes.
the brood, does it have to be capped brood? Like, what if it's just still like larvae? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think
Is that
it
too
just
late?
depends on how young the brood is, right? I mean,
So just anything then?
my guess, anyone go into their hives? No one's gone into their hives, right? No. Does anyone have brood minder sensors to know if the temperature's up
I
to
saw
92
Michelle shaking
degrees?
your head yes. You went to your hives?
I had to go into one of them.
Was there brood?
I did I didn't feed, but they were pretty big, so I wasn't going to mess with them too
Okay.
much. It was cold. I had a mouse in there.
If you have brood minder sensors, right, that's the other way to know, is to have a temp sensor in your hive. And, the winter cluster is somewhere between 60 and 70 degrees, right? That'll be your temp. If you're running brood minder sensors now, that the temperature around the cluster in the winter is 60 to 70. And as soon as there's brood in there, it goes up to 92 degrees. But it's just a matter of how much brood and where the temperature sensor is, right? So if the brood's here, the temp sense here, it's going to take a while for it to pick it up. But if the temp sensor is near the brood nest, you'll pick it up early on.
All you have to do is look at the temperature you are, because as the bees are dropping off, the temperature should be coming down anyway.
Mhm.
And then if you see it start going back up again, you know you got brood.
It doesn't have to hit 92, right, is what you're
So
saying.
just go by the.
You'll just see the trend.
Yeah, the trend will tell you.
They're really cool. If you're interested in, and if you're a science data guy like Mark is, the brood minders, like those sensors are very interesting to look at if you're a data guy. So, any questions about queens?
Queen on the right looks like one that I would mark.
Queen on the right is one that I did mark. And that the learning there is when you've got your pen, your paint pen, make sure you dab it on a frame first before you dab it on the queen. Because there was a big old blob of,
Oh, she smeared it.
it was like,
Pass out, did she?
that was a couple days later. It was all over her wings. I'm surprised she didn't drown.
Did she pass out?
Does anyone know what kind of queen that is?
Kind of queen.
Potentially. What?
Are they carny?
No, not a carny.
Oh,
What do they call
Italian?
them? The red
Buckfast?
ones? The Cardovian queen?
Oh, Cardovian,
That's
yeah.
it.
Cardovian.
Right, where they don't have any black on their legs or on their body, they're all red. So that's a recessive genetic trait that means nothing, but the queens don't have any. See how she's all red. And this one is, what kind of queen is that, probably? Carniolan, probably. It's dark, right? So anyway, you really can't tell, but I would say this may be Italian, right? This is orange.
I was thinking Smurf.
Smurf. That may be Carney, and this is Cordovian queen. Anyway.
And that's
all I got.
that one on the right is definitely a Chester County mutt.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like our breeding program. That
Those
looks
are good.
That looks
Yeah.
like what we create. So we create like a Chester County mutt that's probably a mix between Italian and Carniolans, and they look very much like this. They're all brown except for the very tip is black. You've seen a few of these looking ones, right, Chris? That's pretty much your Chester County mutt looking queen. But now that Ed's given us queens, Ed's given us dark black queens, so they're going to have a little bit more
Are
dark.
they more German?
They're little German black queens. Anyway, cool.
Next
Thank you
up.
guys.
Oh, I didn't see that, shiny thing in front of me, I didn't see.
Top line is don't be a cowboy in February. So what is cowboy beekeeping? Well, I was vice president of this club for 5 years, and I wrote a monthly column on cowboy beekeeping. And basically what it was a diary of my 4 hives, what they were all experiencing every month, how I addressed the problems, and then what I learned from that. And it was a recommendation for what you should be doing in your hive every month. And I'm a scientist by training, so I like to fiddle. And a lot of people in this club do like to fiddle with their bees. So there's dogma, and then there's cowboy beekeeping. What can I do to make this hive better? Or what can't I do to do this? And you experiment and you play around and you go against the dogma. George came up with the keeper's hive. He's a cowboy. There's a lot of cowboys and there's a lot of cowgirls in this club. Anyway, you don't want to experiment in February. Everything can go bad, so don't do anything. But what you should be doing, weigh the hives. You can either use a scale, if you've been using a scale, digital scale or a mechanical spring scale, or simply the heft test. Pick up the hive from the back, feel how heavy it is. If it goes whoop, do you need some fondant in there or sugar? No liquid if it's less than 50 degrees. If it's greater than 50 degrees, pop into the hive, check the middle, check frames 5 and 6 for brood, and replace depleted honey frames because the bees will be eliminating all the honey that's near the brood. And they can run out in March particularly. So frames 1 and 10 are probably going to be full of honey. Move those next to the brood. It's an easy thing to check and they'll thank you because the bees will starve in the middle in a cluster. They do not go down, over, and up to get honey. They just can't think that way. So you have to bring the honey to them. Ultra bee in a saucer, George touched on this. The sap is rising in the maples right now, but it's going to be a while before the blooms come out, and there's not going to be any pollen around. So the bees will store the pollen in the fall. In my hives, it's mostly in the bottom deep, so they can go down there and get the pollen. But there can be a pollen dearth early in the spring. So you can take Ultra Bee and put it in a saucer. If you put it in a saucer, make sure it's in a protected space, or put it in a tube like George suggested. They will find it right off the bat if they're looking, and they'll use it as needed. And when the spring flowers are in full bloom, then you don't have to worry about that anymore. But it's very effective. Scrape the bees off the bottom board, and when you do that, remember to replace the mouse guards. Check your insulation and hive wraps, but basically you want to get ready for the new season. Make some new frames, order new equipment, fix the old equipment, review your hive notes. It's really important to keep a journal. Find out, don't just say, oh, I'll remember what I did. No, you won't. Just write down what you did, review it, go back, correct things, and you'll learn a lot from that. And good luck with your own cowboy beekeeping. Let me have the next slide, please. I wanted to mention accumulated growing degree days. George mentioned the bee calendar. This is how you can check how much warmth there is in the year. So all plants need warmth for vegetative growth and for nectary development. What the beekeeper should be interested in is nectary development. That's where all the nectar comes from. And warmth is measured in growing degree days. So it's the number of degrees of an average temperature during the day minus a base temperature. And that's usually 32, because at 32, nothing is growing. So every day, there's a potential for a growing degree day if it's over 32. So starting on January 1st, the growing degree days are accumulated by adding them to the previous day's total. So it accumulates over the calendar and to give you accumulated growing degree days. That can be charted and monitored. So the National Phenology Network, and that's the website, has a visualization tool to track progress of warmth in your area. It's by area code. So and just remember, all beekeeping is local. And there's vast differences from northern Chester County to southern Chester County. This tool is broken right now, and I've contacted them, and Bill Scott, who's another advocate of measuring this temperature, they know it's broken, they say they'll fix it, they don't know when, they have other priorities that are higher than this. So it's really a nice tool to use. Why do you want to use it? Because the tree nectaries produce nectar over a specific range of growing temperatures, so of growing degree days. So wild olive, like the autumn olive, Russian olive, that blooms before the black locust or the tulip tree, so they're triggered by different amounts of warmth. So I remember driving down in maybe early or late April to North Carolina. There was nothing going on with black locust around here. I got down to below Baltimore. I saw a few. I hit Richmond. Boom, it was all over the place. So I know that the black locust blooms around 1,500 growing degree days. Queens start to lay at 100 accumulated growing degree days. How do I know this? Because I observed when the queens were doing things in my hives. And I came to the conclusion over many years that it's about 100. And that is not much of a growing degree increase. But the last 3 weeks in Chester County, nothing has been made. And maybe down in southern Chester County, if you had a few 50-degree days, then you could accumulate enough. And traditionally, when you use that tool, it gives you a 30-year average for accumulated growing degree days. It gives you last year's plot, and it gives you this year's plot. So right now it's stuck on January 10th for this year. But if you look at last year, it was a very cold spring. I didn't get eggs in my longwood hives until March last year. So anyway, when it hits 100, that's when the queens will go. Why do you want to know this? You might want to know when drones get made and when your colony is going to swarm. You can calculate and figure that out. Any questions on any of this stuff? Yes?
When you talk about accumulating degrees, like a growing degree, are you talking maximum temperature or minimum temperature? Or
It's average daily temperature.
So it's a mean temperature?
Yep. Yep. Minus 32 as the base temperature. And then that's your accumulation over that day. That gets added to the previous days of the year. So it's always increasing.
More than likely right now, we don't have many degree days.
No,
It's been so
so
Today is gonna be
traditionally
12.
around here, it's usually around mid-February, but I've seen eggs as early as January, and I've seen them as late as March.
Yeah, I assume our growing degree days are like, right? I mean,
Just
It's
today,
not
if it
much
gets
right
up
now.
to
If today is gonna be 45, we're gonna pick up a bunch of degrees today.
right.
Yeah, so it's
But is that the average? That's the high of 45.
No, say the
not
high is
average
45,
of the day.
and say the low is 30. So 45 and 30 is 75, divided by 2 is about, what, 37 and a half, minus 32, that's like 7 degrees. So today, we get maybe 7 degrees.
Okay.
We're probably gonna go out to the apiary and weigh the nukes that are out there. Close your ears, Howard. And I will probably look for brood in some of them, just to see.
Can you say the one you just said as the example? You said 45, because I want to write it down so I can figure out.
Oh,
what
just
you were
go to
saying.
that site.
45 plus 32,
Okay, it was 45
divided
plus
by 2,
32.
Yeah.
minus 32.
Yeah,
Wait, divided by
that's
2, what was next?
Divided by 2 minus 32.
Minus 32.
Minus 32.
So you
That's
average
the
the high and
growing
the low.
degree for the day,
Okay, and then you do that for each day?
since January 1st.
Okay,
They
okay.
keep adding up.
Okay, so that's
So
what since
can I ask you a
January.
question, because I'm not following this? You're calculating days above the average.
You're calculating the
The
total
average
number
daily
of
temperature.
degrees above
Degrees.
freezing
I
on
was gonna say,
average.
because if you go by days and each day over that temperature, you're into March, right?
It's
Like,
degree days though, right? So a day can contribute more than 1 degree.
okay, perfect.
So I'm
That's
gonna
right,
call
that's
you
so
when I need to do,
yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
Basically, it has to be over 32 degrees
Okay,
to get a positive for the day.
okay,
And it
The
doesn't go
average for
negative.
that day.
It doesn't,
is-
I don't think
Average.
it hits 0.
okay,
The average for that day has to be over 32.
Yep.
okay.
And usually you just go onto the website, you put in your zip code and they tell you,
And then boom, you get 3 lines.
right.
30-degree average, last year's and this year's. But the
Cool.
tool is broken right now.
So
I
the
think
average
this tool
based
might
on-
be working again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
What do they
Check
say?
it when you
We
sit down.
we bugged them.
What do you say for 190? What do you say for the zip code?
All right.
All right?
Thank you, Paul, very much.
Up everything.
Okay. So what I would say is y'all can read it. One, a tremendous amount of thanks for getting your dues in. If you haven't gotten the dues in, get it in. That is one of the biggest ways that this club can do what they're doing with all the things that you want to do. So the membership is really, really key. What I want to really point out is tremendous gratitude for those that are doing the donations. It's really heartwarming when I see it come in, because you're taking that extra time to give a little bit more back to the club. So I think that's really, really wonderful, and it should be kind of celebrated. So really nice job. I've seen $10 to $1,000 donations to this organization. So that really says, hey, people really value what you all do. So really take that as a huge, tremendous kudos there. What I would just ask is that membership is really, really key for this organization for survival. So if you think about this year, if my one ask could be this, is that during this year, if you could just reach out to maybe some friends that, or somebody you encounter, we all know we're out there and you get a ton of questions about beekeeping. Those are interested members. And it's only $25 a year. So the risk, if they go, yeah, not for me, is a $25 donation to an amazing organization that does a lot for the community. So my ask is maybe this year, look for 2 folks to get them to join, because we need to continue to build out that base. And then that's it. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. All right, so this is my book report. This is out of Bee Culture. It's an article that Jay Evans puts out. It's, I can't remember the name of his article series. This particular one is, when is it time for a comb over? Is it a bad comb over or is it a good comb over? So the bottom line up front, a third of your frames should be scraped every year. If you're a brand new beekeeper, that's not going to work for you, because you don't have, you don't need to do that. But maybe on the second year, you choose a quarter of your frames, and then you roll it up so that every 3 years, all the honeycomb on all of your frames has been scraped off, and they've created new comb. So now I'm going to walk through some of the science behind it. 2001 paper, better brood patterns across years and colonies built around new wax versus darkened wax. So new wax is better for brood. I think it's also better for honey, but that might just be me. It's not. In 2024, Megan Colwell, comb from dead out colonies was left to rest for 30 days. Pull the comb from dead outs, hang it up. Don't lay it on its side, especially if you're running plastic frames. you hang it. 20 to 50% decrease in virus levels. That's significant. So if you had some kind of a deformed wing virus or any other kind of virus that caused a colony to collapse or was contributing to the colony collapse, you can knock that down by 20 to 50% just by hanging it for 30 days. Doing nothing else to it, just let it hang out of the colony. Yeah.
Any research on using UV light, artificial UV light?
I have not that I saw. I haven't looked at, but that'd be a great topic to hear about.
And it kills parasites in water, so they tell us backpacking, UV light.
Kills parasites in water.
Yeah, you don't even need a filter, you could just do UV light on water to kill the parasites in
Yes.
water. So.
It kills the
That's
parasites. It
interesting.
doesn't clean the water.
Doesn't clean the
what?
water.
It doesn't clean the water.
No, it doesn't clean the water, it just kills the parasites.
Yeah. So at my house, I'm on a well, so we have the water going through a UV system, and then going through a filter, and
That's smart. I would always want a filter.
yeah, the filter's not bad, but the UV is the important part. The fact that my water might be a little colorful, it doesn't bother me too much, but the fact that that the parasites are dead, that's much more important. Next slide. Yeah, that's the next slide. So again, this was done up in Manitoba, and they said, oh, well, we're going to send these frames down to a gamma radiation site, and we'll gamma radiate them. And what was interesting is the treated comb compared to the the control comb that was driven on the truck 2,800 miles round trip down there and back had the same virus loads as the ones that were gamma treated. So gamma treatment has no effect on viral loading. It has a huge effect on microbials. If there's bacteria coming through the gamma, that's gone. But viral seems to have limited effect. And then the next one was, what if we heat those frames? And so some of the initial heating of the frames is they took it up to 158 degrees. Thank you. Yeah, they did 158 degrees. What happens to wax at 158 degrees? It melts. So what's you just have a big puddle of wax.
It worked.
It worked, but it didn't work. Hey, we cured that disease. We killed the patient, but the disease is cured. So what they did is they said, hey, let's take it to 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 97% inactivation after a 1 hour heat pulse. So put it in this oven for 1 hour, and 97% of that viral and that viral load was gone. Say it again, Howard.
Let's try that at home in our home oven.
Let's try that at home in your home oven. The problem with the home oven is, how many of you have a home oven that you can set precisely to 140 degrees?
And how many frames can it hold?
And how many frames can it hold? And how pissed off are you? Who's going to clean that oven? More important, who's going to clean it? So that was a bit of a mess. But that's an interesting thing. Next one, please. So that's only part of the problem, is killing the viruses or the diseases that are in it. What about the pesticides? What about chemicals that get into the wax? So these guys, Christina Cast and her crew, melted the wax, suspended it briefly in water. That decreased the levels of the water-soluble pesticides, because I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I'll screw it up, but had little effect on any of the oil-based, or most pesticides were not affected by this water bathing method. So they melted the wax, and they threw it in the water, and all the water-soluble stuff went away, but most of the big stuff stayed. That sucked. Next slide. So Jose Flores said, hey, let's use some methanol, and we're going to do this methanol treatment, and found it looked like a safe way to return beeswax to a more pure state. So it was sucking out all that oil-based pesticides. And if you go and look at their website and look at what they had to do to get this all done, it was like, oh my gosh, it's for backyard beekeepers, it's not worth it. For commercial beekeepers, it's definitely not worth it. From a scientific standpoint, hey, we made it work. Great. we now know the science, but let's put a dose of reality in there. All right, next slide, please.
Really mess you up.
Chris.
You use liquid CO2, that's a solvent, that'll take it out too.
Liquid CO2.
Liquid CO2 would do it. It is a great solvent.
It's a little dangerous to handle.
If you can manage the temperatures.
Managing.
Just drop your high.
Yeah.
Just take time to take it out and drop it.
I didn't know that CO2 liquefied except under certain pressures.
So it is.
It's low temperature, low pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want room temperature, it's very high pressure.
Yeah,
That's what you use to decaffeinate coffee.
right.
It's a great solvent though.
Good stuff. You could use liquid nitrogen.
Not as good of a solvent.
Not as good as
CO2
solvent,
is a better
yeah.
solvent, actually.
Okay, so the discussion for those online was about use of liquid CO2 as a solvent. That would work great. And then my comment about nitrogen was pointed out. It's not as good a solvent as CO2. Okay, great. Bottom line. Back to the bottom line. Bottom line is rotate your comb out every 3 to 4 years. So what I do is I've got a stack of frames that I have set aside that I'm going to be scraping off. So if you're running plastic frames, just scrape them off. You could put a new coat of wax on them if you so desired. There's obviously wax on them, but you might want to throw a new coat just to draw the bees to them just before you put them in a hive. With the plastic foundations, the same thing. You can just scrape them off. If you're running wooden frames with a grid or you've got the wax foundation, just cut it out, put a new wax foundation in, and you're good to go. So this is pretty straightforward. This is the recommendation at this point. All this science just says, yeah, we should probably be changing our comb. And a simple way of doing it as you become, third and fourth, fifth year beekeepers is you've got enough comb. You just grab that black comb and just scrape it off. Now, how do you scrape the comb? Is it good to scrape it when it's cold or when it's hot or when it's 72 degrees? I know Chris has an answer to it. What do you think?
I used to sit them out in the sun for a little bit.
Sit them out in the sun for a bit?
So you get warm in the sun, they come right off with a
Yep.
plastic frame. Come right off with a plain ice.
Come right
It'll
off.
have some residue from the.
It doesn't smear.
Don't get the hot, that's warm.
So
if you get just the right temperature, it does pull off, but you'll
And then
still
your
always.
frame kind of gets a little wonky.
You have to be You have to be careful of plastic frames in the sun. So Chris's comment, I'm repeating this for the people online. Chris's comment was, you put it out in the sun for a little bit, let it warm up, and it'll scrape right off. If you leave it out in the sun too long, you'll warp the frame and you throw it in the recycle bin. Wooden frames don't warp like that as much. You still can get some warpy frames. Chris?
Question from the internet. What about the pollen in the cells?
What about the pollen in the cells? You're scraping that out too. You're scraping it clean.
But it doesn't come clean. How do you get it clean?
Clean enough. You're getting the comb off, and they're going to build new comb on it.
But you're leaving the residue.
You're leaving the residue against the frame, but you're scraping the height off. Yes, sir.
Yeah, how do you identify the ones?
I identify them by color. If they're dark, black-looking frames of wax, that's the one I'm going to be pulling out and scraping off. If they're nice, light-colored, I might leave it. It may be 5 or 6 years because it's a nice, beautiful, waxy-looking color. Does that mean there are not pesticides in there? That doesn't mean that. But that's kind of my...
Don't like label it.
Yeah, you can. I do generally label what year that went into each frame went in. Paul.
That residue can get blown off with a power washer.
Power washers can work, yeah.
Well, one article I read that really made me interested in swapping out comb was the size of the cell keeps shrinking with the pupal cases.
Yes.
And your bees get smaller and smaller and smaller. And the honey production drops to 50% in really old frames.
Yeah, because every time you put a larva in their pupates, it creates that paper shell, and if you've got layer after layer after layer of paper, the cell size decreases in diameter.
And those combs are really lousy to try to extract for wax.
Oh yeah, but
It gets sludge.
you get. I mean, I took I took about this much of that dark wax and I put it in hot water and I got about this much wax off the top of it. It's like maybe 2 pounds of wax at most. It's like that was a waste. So what can you use it for? Fire starter. Yeah, a great fire starters. George.
A lot of it's demarree, and I found that when you're doing the demarree and moving the frames out of the brood chamber, it's a wonderful opportunity to drop foundation and to just do this naturally.
Yeah.
And then the colony is, the queen's always laying on at least 1% of new frames, and it just becomes routine. It also may help a little bit decrease the swarming impulse because they got to draw the wax out versus just putting already drawn comb in. So it's a nice opportunity to rotate some of your frames with the demarree.
So back to cutting off the wax at cold temperatures. Sometimes it works really well when it's really cold, frozen, because it just cracks right off. So that can be good too. But again, if you're going to put them out in the sun, don't just lean them against something if they're plastic. You want to put them in a box so that they're hanging straight up and down, and they will tend not to wonk or warp on you. Yeah, because once they're warped, you throw them into a hive, they'll draw out on it, but you'll have a mess.
So question, so you would scrape them off, you have debris left on there. If you don't get all the debris off, do you still get even cells?
Depends on how much debris you got on there. I think I scrape them off. They're mostly clean. I could go with Paul's technique of using the power washer to get them a little cleaner. But then I throw a layer of wax on it, and it kind of knocks everything down to an even cut.
We've done a bunch of this out at the apiary this year because with the nuke program we're always giving away nukes and cycling out. And we still have some old frames from the flood and other and you have to re-wax them. If you don't re-wax them, they don't draw them out great. So if you scrape and just put it back in, you're at risk of having bad comb on that. And so you have to re-wax them. I feel like to get to draw them out correctly. And the more you can get out that frame, the better that new wax is going to be for sure. Like
This is a good segue into a short discussion about waxing frames. When should you wax frames? I bought a whole bunch of new frames. They came triple waxed. Great, wonderful. So I can just, throw them right in the hive and they'll be fine. They probably won't be because you have no idea. That could have been waxed a year ago. You should use your wax and wax them within a day or two of putting them in the hive. If you can wax them and put them in the hive as you're putting them in, you're going to be better off than waiting days or weeks or months.
You look at those frames that you get, you'll see a blush just like chocolate gets on it.
Yep.
They don't like that. They don't like to attach wax to anything that has a blush on it. That's why it's more critical that you wax them as soon as you're ready to put them in. Don't wait a month or a week.
A bloom,
Try to
like
get
a
it
chocolate
as soon as
bloom.
possible.
I'm sorry.
What did you say, a blush?
Blush. It's called a bloom,
Chocolate,
actually.
If it's chocolate stored at wrong temperatures, it gets a white
Oh, the
blush on the
bloom.
outside.
Yeah, it's a bloom.
A bloom. Sorry,
Yeah.
I get a blush. I got
Yeah.
mixed up. I get my words mixed.
I
and
blush
more
all
is
the
not
time.
necessarily better either.
Say it again.
I said more wax on your frames is not necessarily
More
better.
wax is not necessarily
It's more
better.
critical that it's newer. It's fresh wax.
Fresh wax,
Right.
yeah.
Like you don't want the wax in the cells, and you just want it on the very surface of the
Yeah.
foundation, right? You don't want it to be. Don't move it around and use it, but it's not necessary.
Someone had told I had some candles that I'd made back when I sold candles, which I no longer do for tax reasons. Because if you sell candles, you have to collect sales tax. If you sell honey or food products, you don't have to collect sales tax in Pennsylvania. So it was not worth my effort to go get a sales tax certificate and all the. So I just said that's it. I'm done with that. But I had these candles that I had made the year before, and they had all bloomed. And I was talking to what's her name, Lauren, Health Gun, and she said, "Oh yeah, just take a hair dryer." Because I often use a hair dryer, so I get my hair dryer out, and just a light blow off on the stuff, and all that bloom went away. It went back to a nice, smooth, shiny surface. So the same thing could work for,
You can do
for
that.
the frames.
You just have to watch if you got plastic.
If you've got plastic, you overheat it,
You'll warp them.
warp them, yeah, exactly.
So as most of you heard, as I bragged too much, my grandfather was the first president of the club. He died in 1958. I was cleaning out my bee shed this fall, and I'm pretty sure this basket was his. So I didn't do anything with it, but I thought it might be fun to look at it. This may be, what was it, Al Capone safe? So they opened up and nothing was in it. So it might be like that, but I know there's something in it.
Wait, seriously, you're really opening it for the first time in front of
Well,
us?
no, I've had it.
I mean, like, you better be careful.
So I know there's some things of very mild interest in here. Here's one thing. Anybody see what that is?
Is it a woolen, is it a wool spool?
It's made out of wood.
Spool.
What would that have had on it?
Heartstrings.
Wire for the framing. How about this piece of wood? Very thin. Nobody knows? Huh? Nope. See that little box joint there? They used to make wood boxes for comb honey. I did that as a kid. It was hard to do. So you had 4 pieces joined with, 45 angle cuts in it. You could fold it up and make a box. It was split on 3 sections. You put a thin sheet of wax foundation in it, and you stick it into a shallower than shallow box. There's still one, I forget who sells it, but there's still somebody that sells that.
Can you follow up with a picture at the next meeting, because I didn't
I
follow
could
that?
try. How about this? Remember, this is like 70 years old.
Is that sage?
Sumac. I remember my grandfather, even though he died when I was 5, so I don't remember anything about him. But I know he did use sumac bears. Like Keith has talked about that too. So I think this would be dry enough to probably work.
What's it for?
In the smoker. And then just some paper that you probably use to start a smoker. I still use newspaper to start one. There's some more sumac. I tried to bring a bag to not make us too much of a mess. A lot of sumac. I guess I should try it. Looks like a paint stirrer to me.
It's like a mouse.
I have no idea why he had a paint stirrer in here. Any thoughts?
Why would they put holes in a paint stirrer?
What's that?
Why would
where
put
they
holes
used
in a
to
paint
be.
stirrer?
To help it
Mix it?
mix it up.
Trying to dissolve sugar. Sugar syrup.
Maybe.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, mix it.
I like that idea.
Entrance?
Entrance reducer? It's a thinner one than any make. You'd think it'd be 3/4 inches thick. And now all I'm seeing in here is pieces of wood. So maybe he used, that's interesting. This is a tube made out of thin, thick paper with a cap at the end.
Smoker?
I have no idea what that would be for.
It's like a cigar.
Smoke
something.
That's how you really let your smoker out.
Does that tube have wax on the paper?
Doesn't feel like it. I mean, it's hollow.
Throbbing device?
Here's like half of an excluder. Here's another half of an excluder. And the rest, I think, is just, oh, here's some matches.
Oh.
That's cool.
Safety matches, diamond safety matches.
You want to try.
They may work.
Wow.
I think the rest is just.
If you think about this for a second, safety matches are for us older folks, we used to be able to strike a match on any rough surface.
Right.
Safety matches have to go across that
Where did you
strike.
find this basket?
What's that?
Where did you find this basket?
In my bee shed, so I've been moving around, I guess, without really looking at it. Let there be light. I think that's it.
Of course, because we found the light switch.
You can
Success.
take all
That's
that
cool.
to Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
Seriously.
We
Good
all
thing I
see
brought
this
the-
off today, Michelle, making some money.
I think I'll try that sumac in my pea smoker this spring. Anyway, that's it.
So why did your grandfather
That's a
keep
beginner's
Okay.
program.
Why did he keep bees?
Yeah, why did he keep bees?
Well, he had a small farm in Westtown Township
Okay.
and an orchard
He was a farmer.
until he lost it in the Depression and had to move into Westchester. My mother had to give up her pony, so that was rather traumatic. And I still have 2 old Hoover vacuums from the 30s because he sold them door to door. And my guess is he was a terrible salesman. Which is probably why I still have them.
And do you know how many hives he ran or what?
No.
Not sure.
But it was my mother that taught me beekeeping because it was her father.
Because he died when you were 5.
Yeah, and I got my first hive a year later. My older brother inherited a hive, so I was jealous. So I wanted one. He got one. I wanted. So
Or
was
do you
your
find
mom
any
a
old
beekeeper?
honey, like maybe some
I
honey
have, yeah, we
that
did that.
predates
Yeah,
the
we did
ladies'
that.
1988 honey?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
You
got tons of
did?
that.
50s.
Is it like black?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we had a taste test once.
Yeah.
So
From
was your mom a
1958 honey.
beekeeper?
What's that?
Your mom was a beekeeper too?
Just she learned enough from him, I think, to help me as a kid. I mean, the 6-year-olds can't lift boxes. I must have been a pain.
So just want to give you a quick update of what's going on with the beginner's course. Anybody here in the taking the beginner's course or the apprentice program this year? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great, thank you. The rest of you, just so that you know what's happening with beginners and apprentices. So if you take the beginner's course, or if you get somebody that wants to take a beginner's course, it's a classroom session once a month, and it's a lab session once a month. From the classroom session starts in March and ends in October, but the labs run April through September. So that's and the reason we have multiple lab sessions is we want to keep the class count down. I don't want 40 people sitting in an apiary having someone go, okay, you see the queen? Yeah. You can see the queen, right? From back in the back. Paul, you can see the queen, right? Paul, you can see the 2 Pauls sitting at the same table. That's great. Okay, we don't want that.
I'd be able to see yours at the blue one?
Yeah, from the blue one you could see from back there. That's true. So we're trying to keep the lab size down to under 9, preferably under 6. We generally have 3 hives per. So we're running the class up here at Historic Sugartown, which is fairly close to here, about 1.5 miles away, or up at Bondsville Mill is where the 4 lab sessions, 2 at each. The apprentice program is a little different. That is, and some of you here have signed up to be apprentice teachers, and then some of you have signed up to take the apprentice program, and so you get assigned an apprentice teacher, gets assigned an apprentice, and they work together generally once a month. It is a much more hands-on, learn as you go kind of experience without the structure of the beginner's class. So beginner's class tends to be more structured. The apprentice program a little less structured. It's $150 for the year for the program for each course, and it is members only. Didn't find a little members label for my jacket, but it's a members only kind of event, and it includes George and Joe's apprentice yard experience, which happens every other Friday at 12:30.
Correct. This year it's going to be Friday at 12:30.
Friday at 12:30 p.m., which is the afternoon, not Don't show up at 12:30 in the morning.
I wanted 5 a.m., but Joe wouldn't agree.
Yeah, George wanted one at 5 a.m., but Joe said, oh, heck no. And then for both programs at the following spring, so coming up here shortly, they'll open up the storefront for those members to buy a nuke for $100. And we had like 60 people in the Apprentice and Beginners course last year, so we don't have 60 nukes to sell, but it'll be the first however many nukes we get pushed out. So that's the way that works. All right.
I mean, last year the Apprentice Yard made 25 nukes, so we're hoping to do better this year, you know. So we're hoping to at least put 30 or 40, you know, local nukes out this year from that yard.
Yeah. I think that'll be great.